Hello, welcome back to my channel. What if Naruto? What if Naruto was the one to lose his way into the darkness instead of Sasuke? Part 2. The like goal for this video is 20. The sooner the like goal is completed, the sooner I will upload the next part for this what if. Disclaimer: I don't own Naruto nor this fanfic. IDIT. Naruto slammed the door to Jiraiya's room and ran inside, looking as if he had walked through a swamp under hellish rainfall. "Oi, pervy sage! Did you hear me?" the boy demanded, walking over to Jiraiya and glaring at the suspicious papers held in his hands. "Yes, I did," he answered with an exaggerated sigh, placing his papers down while noticing just how exhausted the boy looked. "He looks like he hasn't slept at all." "I'll give you a few hours of rest before," he suggested, but was interrupted with Naruto's childish wrath. "There's no time to wait. I have to grow stronger, Dabayo," he declared, begging Jiraiya with those pitiful blue eyes of his, to which the older man eventually gave in. "Very well then, let's see just how much you've accomplished in the last 4 days. He placed down his brush and stood up while dusting the back of his pants. His wooden sandals echoed in the vast hallways as he walked out of the hideout with Naruto close behind him. "He looks so battered up, can he really do this?" "Alright then, show me how much you've achieved," Jiraiya ordered, watching as Naruto placed his hands into a ceiling sign while smiling triumphantly. "Here we go, Dabayo." Naruto leapt onto the middle of the river and to Jiraiya's surprise, the boy stayed atop without struggle. He, how's it?" Naruto asked as he rubbed his nose with a proud smirk on his face. "Impressive, right?" "Not bad." Jiraiya slowly shook away his surprise and took in Naruto's appearance once again. This boy barely had any chakra control and had not ever attempted standing on water before. I wonder how many times this kid had tried before reaching this stage. But, Jiraiya walked onto the river as well and slammed his hands onto the water. No normal amount of stubbornness can make up for the lack of someone's talent. Hey. You never told me that you were going to use some sort of water jutsu as well," Naruto accused, watching as the river started to dangerously sway back and forth, powerful waves moving towards him. "If you can't stay standing on moving water, then there's no need for me to even consider taking you in," he reasoned, crossing his arms as he watched Naruto begin to wobble. The yellow-haired Pikachu then suddenly looked up at Jiraiya and grinned, placing his arms pridefully on his hips. "Just kidding," he revealed smugly. Jiraiya's eyes widened slightly in surprise again and watched as the violent waves slowly died down, but Naruto remained balanced on top of the water without the slightest hint of struggle. This kid, even though he wasn't born with much talent. "Pervy sage, the reason why I managed to reach this stage," Naruto spoke up, unenergetic grin forming on his face. "That's because I never give up, because I have to become stronger quickly. And..." Naruto's vision suddenly went sideways and felt the strength slowly leave his body, his heavy eyelids unwillingly shutting. Jiraiya watched as the naive boy slowly fell towards the water for a few seconds before flashing in front of him, catching him in his arms right before he fell into the cooling water. Jiraiya stood up and walked back towards the hideout, picking up Naruto's Akatsuki cloak and laying it over the snoring Jinchuriki. A complicated swirl of emotions were tornadoing inside of him as he painfully remembered his youthful days where he would always pester his two teammates. In the end, if you were too weak you would be left behind in the scroll world, he learned that the hard way. Jiraiya entered his bedroom and closed the door behind him quietly, sitting back down at his desk after placing Naruto on his bed, tucking him into the thick blankets. Feeling the nostalgic impulse to write again, Jiraiya dipped his handy pen into the black ink and placed it onto the paper. Sequel of the Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi. A. Naruto groaned as he turned around in the bed, scratching his stomach before his eyes finally focused on the second person present in the room. What happened? Naruto mumbled, stretching his arms and legs like a wild cat. You exhausted your body too much so you fainted. Jiraiya explained, his serious gaze never leaving his papers once. Naruto watched this for a while before remembering something, causing him to sit up in bed and spin towards Jiraiya in delight. So, will you consider me to become your student now? He blurted, feeling his heart pound messily against his young, youthful chest. Jiraiya heard the excitement in the boy's voice and was almost guilty as he placed down his brush, turning to look at him with a flat expression. No, Jiraiya answered. Perhaps after you learn tree climbing then I'll take you in. Tree climbing? Didn't you just make that on the spot? Naruto complained as he laid back down on the comfortable bed. Jiraiya looked out of the small window and observed the night sky. It's an actual thing, around now, that Sasuke kid would be learning it too. Jiraiya spoke, his voice drifting along the quiet wind before reaching Naruto's attentive ears. Naruto's bright blue eyes widened and he quickly sat up, looking as if ready to run out of the hideout and find the first tree he saw. Just rest a bit more, it's nighttime as well. Jiraiya pointed out. Naruto grit his teeth in frustration and remained sitting on the soft bed. But if he doesn't do anything then Sasuke will become stronger than him in no time. Jiraiya picked up the pieces of paper and observed Naruto's look of frustration with slight curiosity. As far as he'd heard, this Sasuke kid used to be a good friend and rival towards this boy. It sure reminded him of his childhood, huh? You really do seem to care for this Sasuke kid, don't you? Jiraiya asked the question and watched as Naruto slowly looked down at his tanned hands, hundreds of emotions flickering through his eyes at the speed of light. He was my friend? My rival? My archenemy? Perhaps something else, a broken bar? He wasn't sure. He was my greatest friend. Naruto finally answered, his quiet voice carrying a hint of sadness in it. Jiraiya instantly noticed the use of past tense in the boy's sentence and returned to rereading his 10 pages of freshly written masterpieces. Naruto noticed that Jiraiya didn't ask him any further questions and looked up at the old man's serious expression as he read the papers in his hand. Are you still writing that dirty book? Naruto asked, cocking his head sideways as if he couldn't act any more innocent than that. Jiraiya placed down his papers and pointed his dripping brush accusingly at the boy. I've changed. I am not writing any dirty books at the moment. Jiraiya confessed with energy, watching as Naruto narrowed his eyes in doubt. No part of this old pervert looked honest or trusting. Perfect timing actually. Jiraiya pointed out, gesturing for Naruto to walk over. Come read it and give me your opinion on it. No, I don't want to. The boy whined, too lazy to get up from the comfortable bed. Jiraiya saw this and turned away from the boy with irritation. Humphrey, if you'd agreed to read it, I would have let you become my student. He muttered, dipping his dry pen back into the black mass of ink, waving it around the air before placing it back down onto the paper. Like a fox, Naruto's ears instantly perked up and he sat up with energy. Really? Really? Naruto outstretched his hand and desperately gestured for Jiraiya to give him the papers. Gimme, I'll read it. I'll read it. No, you lost your chance. Jiraiya stubbornly stood ground and ignored Naruto's begging eyes. The boy eventually gave up and laid back onto his bed with a rare sigh, placing his hands behind his head to relax himself. You're mean. The 12-year-old accused. In the calming silence, Jiraiya heard the words and raised a questioning eyebrow. You're resting on my bed, in my room. So stop complaining. He retorted with a nagging tone, watching as Naruto pursed his lips and turned his back to face him without speaking. Jiraiya's scribbling was all one could hear in the empty cave as the stars shone brightly in the cool night sky outside. After a while, the older man finally placed down his pen. Naruto mumbled a few incomprehensible words before turning over, his arm hanging out of the bed and touching against the cool ground. Jiraiya saw this while wishing he didn't and walked over to his bed, chucking Naruto's arm back onto the bed while gradually studying his appearance out of curiosity. He looks just like her, but his hair and eye colors are the exact same as his. Jiraiya was crouched in front of the sleeping boy and his eyes eventually wandered over to the Jinchuriki's slightly revealed stomach. A 5-element seal? Jiraiya didn't question why Naruto was focusing chakra around his body enough for the seals to appear on his stomach like a tattoo and collected chakra to his fingertips, gazing at the 5 elements seal on the boy's stomach. This could explain why this boy couldn't achieve much despite how hard he treated a broken bar. This looks to be a bit tricky. Jiraiya eyes the complicated seal and carefully lifts up Naruto's undershirt, slamming his fingers against the boy's stomach. It must have been Orochimaru. I heard that he was one of the supervisors at the Chunin exams. Naruto started giggling and rubbed his stomach with a lazy hand. Stop, Sasuke, it's not like you to tickle me. Naruto rubbed his stomach a few more times before reluctantly turning to his side. Jiraiya slowly stood up in amazement and contained his chuckle with an amused smile. How did this boy not wake up? Even after sleeping he is practicing chakra control. Jiraiya walked over to his table while stretching his limbs, eventually sitting down and resting his face in his arms. In a way, this boy really did remind him of Minato and Kushina. Jiraiya groaned in pain as he slowly lifted his aching limbs, squinting his eyes to slowly adjust to the bright sunlight that leaked in from the small window in the side of his room. Ugh, I'm never letting that boy take my bed next time. Jiraiya complained, slowly sitting up and hearing his bones painfully crack. The blanket hits the floor and Jiraiya looks behind him, picking up the warm blanket that had been resting on his shoulders. Jiraiya felt an odd sense of warmth, like the warmth you feel upon entering a steam bath, and smiled. Perhaps he'll let the boy take the bed next time then. Speaking of Naruto, Jiraiya turned to look around the room and saw that the bed was completely lacking the presence of the Jinchuriki. Jiraiya stood up and yawned, searching around the cave before exiting the hideout. There's no way he would be. Naruto screamed as he lunged at the tree again, reaching 3/4 up the tree before suddenly falling. Careful, Jiraiya started towards Naruto, but the boy quickly threw out his arms and flipped backwards, landing on his 2 feet with ease. Damn it! Again! Jiraiya watched in surprise as Naruto sprinted up the tree once again, almost reaching the top before smoothly landing on his feet again, gritting his teeth in frustration. This boy a broken bar. Instead of rushing up mindlessly, you should concentrate the chakra more and take it slowly. Jiraiya called out, walking over the river and looking down at the frowning Jinchuriki. What I mean is instead of running up, practice walking up. Naruto looked up at him with a quizzical expression and squinted his eyes under the bright sunlight that shone upon them. Why would he walk instead of run? Geez, I doubt that'll help. Naruto whined, wiping his sweaty forehead before placing one foot on the tree, then the other. Jiraiya watched with a fleeting smile as Naruto's expression quickly brightened. In no time, the yellow-haired Pikaka had easily walked up the tree to the very top. I did it. I did it. Did you see Pervy Sage? Naruto yelled, looking down at the old man with a huge grin. Maybe this old man did know his stuff. Yes, I saw it. Jiraiya waved his hand around dismissively and watched as the energetic kid walked back down, jumping onto the ground with a solid thumb before giving him another unintelligent look. But how come I can walk up but not run up? He questioned, scratching his head with a frown. Watching the boy anxiously scratch his head caused Jiraiya to scratch his head too, letting out a weary sigh. This boy didn't seem all too bright either. These exercises all come to chakra control. Once you master the basics, then you'll be able to run. Concentration is also key, so rushing before you can do the basics will never work out. He summed up, seeing that Naruto still had no idea what he was saying, he quickly admitted his defeat. Just keep practicing until you can run up the tree back and forth. Understanding the last sentence, Naruto energetically flexed his skinny arms and stretched his legs as Jiraiya turned around to leave to return to the hideout, believing that Naruto would take longer to master it. Jiraiya suddenly remembered the 5-element seal on Naruto's stomach and frowned. He wondered if removing that seal really did anything. If this boy can't finish the tree exercise in 2 days, then there was no chance he would take him in. Naruto licked his dry lips and jumped onto the tree, closing his eyes and feeling the chakra flow through his body like a stream of water in a calming ocean. He could feel it gather at his feet and he started to dash forward, his feet securely attaching onto the tree. He, Pervy Sage. Pervy Sage. Naruto's irritating shouts interrupted Jiraiya's thoughts and he turned around with annoyance. He slowly looked up at the tree, wincing at the sunlight that shone down at him. Eventually his eyes adjusted to the light and his gaze met with the bright blue eyes that happily gazed down back at him. Watch me! The boy shouted as he jumped down from the tree, placing one foot on the bark and staying securely in place. This morning when I was practicing, I noticed that my chakra seemed easier to control by tenfold, Dabayo. Jiraiya watched as Naruto ran up and down, even concentrating the chakra to his hands and doing handstands on the tree side, as if showing Jiraiya that he was just that good at it already. He'd gotten the boy to practice chakra control seriously just one time, but now he'd already mastered a broken bar. Say, are you going to take me in as your student now then? Naruto demanded, jumping down in front of Jiraiya and glancing up at him with his big blue eyes. Yes, Jiraiya scratched the back of his head and sighed. I guess I'll have to take you in. Hooray! Hooray! Naruto jumped up and down with energy, running around Jiraiya like the world's greatest menace. I can finally become strong now. Jiraiya watched the yellow hair dash around him and closed his eyes as he began to feel slightly dizzy. The warm sunlight definitely did not help with this. Tell me, how am I going to deal with such an energetic annoyance? Go take a shower and come with me to eat breakfast, Jiraiya ordered, catching Naruto's head to stop him from moving anymore. After that, I'll decide what to teach you. I'll be right back, Dad Bayo. Naruto started to run across the river before turning back and grabbing his Akatsuki cloak. Food is in the main room, Pervy Sage. Please make me a bowl of instant noodles with 5 pieces of meat on the side as well. Ugh. Jiraiya rubbed his face with a sigh, but a small smile was evident on his aging face. Even if he was too energetic for his liking, this boy was quite amusing. I'm back. Wow, that looks so good. The yellow-haired boy sprinted into the room and took a seat opposite to his new sensei. Can I eat, please? Naruto cautiously looked up at Jiraiya, who stared down at him, as if trying his best to appease him so that he wouldn't abandon him. Jiraiya looked at Naruto's eager expression as he then, lovingly glowered at his food and smiled. Go ahead, boy, he allowed, watching as Naruto snapped his chopsticks apart and dug right into the big bowl of ramen, slurping loudly as if there was no tomorrow. So, have you learned any jutsu during your time in the academy? Jiraiya asked, devouring his pre-cooked omelet much like Naruto was devouring his food. Yeah, I was taught the clone jutsu and transforming jutsu, Naruto explained through a mouthful of noodles as he started to choke down the soup. If it were someone else watching Naruto eat, they would have lost appetite immediately, but Jiraiya, who ate in a similar style, nodded to the boy's reply. Can you do them? Jiraiya asks, watching as Naruto bent his head back and swallowed the rest of the soup down before slamming the bowl onto the table. I can do the transforming jutsu easily, but I can't do the clone jutsu, Naruto hurriedly explained as he watched Jiraiya's eyebrows raise. Then I got tricked by this bad teacher and I ended up stealing the scroll of seals. No way, did the third Hokage not catch you? Jiraiya exclaimed with a tone of surprise, watching as Naruto cheerfully scratched his head with a smug grin on his face. Not for a while, Naruto continued. But I stole it to learn some cool jutsu in it so that I could pass the exams and become a ninja, Dad Bayo. So I found the shadow clone jutsu and I can do it easily now. Jiraiya heard Naruto's boast and let out a chuckle, eating a spoonful of rice as he continued to speak again. Anything else? He asks. Naruto felt rather offended by the question and scrunched up his eyebrows as he thought hard. Then he remembered his fight with Sasuke at the final valley. Actually, there's this cool jutsu I did when I fought Sasuke to join the Akatsuki, Naruto exclaimed as he grabbed some bread and stuffed his mouth with it hungrily. I had released the Nine Tails chakra and when I went against Sasuke's Chidori, I performed this powerful jutsu without even learning it. Jiraiya heard Naruto's explanation and held in a breath, the wooden spoon laid unmoving in his hand. What did it look like? He asked eagerly, watching as Naruto chewed noisily, frowning as he tried to recall the moment from 2 months ago. It was a light blue color. Oh, it looks like a ball of chakra or something, Naruto added while chewing another mouthful of tasty bread. It seemed to be spinning? Jiraiya guessed, Naruto swallowed his bread and looked up at him with surprise. "How do you know that, pervy sage?" Naruto asked with curiosity, watching as Jiraiya looked back at him, giving him a slight shrug. "Because I taught your father," Jiraiya willingly explained. "Your father made this jutsu. It's an A-rank jutsu called the Rasengan. Highly powerful, a genius creation." Jiraiya would have wanted to continue praising his beloved student, if it wasn't for Naruto who interrupted him. "My father?" Naruto muttered, his breathing quickened with every second of silence that Jiraiya left him with. "You taught my father? Then, can you tell me what his name is? What was he like?" Jiraiya was bombarded with many more questions and he slowly placed his spoon back onto his plate, an incredulous look on his face. "Has nobody ever told you when you were at Konoha? You really don't know anything about him?" Jiraiya asked in shock, and what seemed to be anger entwined with his voice. This boy lived 12 years without knowing who his parents were? He knew that Konoha was helpless, but this boy, even as a Jinchuriki, was Minato's son. Naruto didn't notice the anger contained in Jiraiya's voice and frowned, feeling rather upset with his question. "Konoha broken bar. They never told me anything, they never taught me anything." A broken bar remembering the village caused Naruto to feel bitter and he played with his bread as he opened his mouth to reply. "Nope. The people in the village always avoided me and treated me like trash. They would always call me the demon fox and mention this other person," Naruto explained with a saddened expression. "With how they treated me, I started thinking that perhaps my parents were bad people. No, Konoha was clearly wrong to treat you like this, even if you're the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki," Jiraiya reasoned, his voice subconsciously rising. "Your father is Konoha's hero and fourth Hokage, also known as the Yellow Lightning Flash of the Leaf, Minato Namikaze." "The fourth Hokage?" Naruto breathed in shakily as he tried to process the information Jiraiya had just told him. He was his father? All this time? The Hokage he'd always aspired to reach? I don't believe it. But why is my last name different from his then? The boy asked with a frown, his heart pounding messily against his fragile chest. He felt as if his rib cage would burst at any moment. To think that the person he'd always wanted to reach was none other than his father. "Because you took your mother's last name instead, Kushina Uzumaki," Jiraiya answered immediately with such certainty that Naruto couldn't help but start believing him. But why did Konoha treat him like a freak if his parents weren't bad people? She was a strong-willed woman, talented, kind, beautiful. Jiraiya described with a small smile, watching as Naruto's blue eyes sparkled under the dim light. The Uzumaki clan is a very strong clan. Known for their red hair, large chakra reserves and majority have all been Jinchurikis of the Nine Tails in fact. Naruto listened on and a frown slowly formed on his small face. If there was a whole clan out there he could call home, then how come they never went to find him? Then how come they didn't care for me? Naruto mumbled with droopy eyes, watching as Jiraiya stared at him hesitantly before answering his question. Because they were so powerful, they were naturally feared. Over time, multiple villages ganged up and eventually wiped out all of the Uzumaki clan. Jiraiya revealed, watching as Naruto stared at him with big eyes. The light dimmed, but did not go out. But since your mother had survived, perhaps there are others. Naruto listened to the credible explanation and stared at his bread, suddenly feeling a lot less appetized. just because they were scared of them. Is this the true nature of a human being? Out of fear or jealousy, will they kill and bring suffering down on others without hesitation? Is Uncle Nagato related to me then? The boy suddenly asked, remembering getting a glimpse of Uncle Nagato when Uncle Obito introduced him to everyone. I've always felt an odd closeness towards him, and I've seen him once. He has red hair too. The old man sat in his chair for a long minute before it dawned on him. Nagato indeed owned a unique chakra and had striking red hair. How had he never noticed that he was indeed an Uzumaki? Was I perhaps a bad teacher after all? They treated me with kindness and even shelter me now, yet I don't even know all about them. Taking Jiraiya's tense silence as an answer, Naruto pushed on and felt sadder by the second as he let his emotions pour out. If his father and mother were such amazing people, then why do they ignore their sacrifices and bully him? Out of fear. Over such a stupid reason? Why did they treat me like trash? My father died to protect Konoha, didn't he? I'm guessing my mother did too? Naruto demanded, standing up as he slammed his hands onto the table. The sound deafened around him even as his chair crashed into the floor. Jiraiya watched the young boy throw his tantrum and as he gradually learned Konoha's true essence and sternly glanced at him. Because they're scum. Cowardice liars that always avoid their responsibilities. Fearing that you would lose control of the Nine Tails, they treated you like trash and prayed you wouldn't exist. And for me, Jiraiya paused mid-sentence and stared at his food with the lack of interest he originally had for it. And for me. The more I find out, the more I hate the place. Naruto growled, feeling his fingernails dig into his skin. I was the one who kept the Nine Tails under control. My parents were the one to save every life from the village. They kicked me, laughed at me, ignored my existence. I was pushed to the edge. They made sure I couldn't belong anywhere even if I tried. If it weren't for the few friends I had made, I might have been treated even more poorly or worse. Jiraiya carefully observed as Naruto trembled on the spot. His gritted teeth slowly grew longer and sharper. The black lines on his face became more fox-like, his eyes slowly glowed bloody red and a bubbly red chakra surfaced from his skin. So this was what the Nine Tails chakra looked like. Hey, Jiraiya looked into Naruto's eyes and gave him a stern expression. Calm down. Naruto looked into his sensei's trusting eyes and felt it ironic. He'd said that this old man didn't seem any bit trustworthy, yet now he definitely did. We'll get our revenge eventually. Losing control of your emotions now won't do you any good. Jiraiya stated plainly, watching as the red bubbly chakra slowly faded away. Naruto forced that weird hot chakra back into his body with great difficulty and didn't fail to notice that Jiraiya used inclusive language when referring to revenge. Now the 12-year-old suddenly wondered what really happened in the cave during the Second Ninja War. Okay, let's start training then. I'll start by teaching you the summoning jutsu since it's one of my specialties. Jiraiya said as finished his plate of food so that it wouldn't go to waste. Naruto watched Jiraiya begin to clean the dishes and copied his actions, helping the old man wash the dishes at the river. The warm sunlight shone on top of them as they squatted by the river, one yellow head and one white head. Jiraiya watched as the naive Pikachu collected the plates and obediently followed him back into the hideout, helping him to place the dishes back. Thanks. He mutters with a small smile as he places a hand over Naruto's soft hair, patting it 2 times before leading the way back towards the river and their official training area. Naruto combed his hair back in place with his fingers but couldn't hide the glimmering smile on his face. This was the first time he thanked him. Even though Naruto still thought of Jiraiya as an old perverted man, he couldn't deny the fact that getting praised by his new teacher made him feel quite happy. "Come on, don't you want to get stronger sooner?" Jiraiya called out from the outside of the cave. Naruto combed his hair one more time before dashing towards the sunlight, his stomach full and his emotions lifted. "My first master after joining my new family." Thinking of this made Naruto feel all giddy inside and he couldn't suppress the wild grin appearing on his face. "I'm coming, Dad Bayo!" he shouted as he jumped outside, excitedly running across the grass and river. Skidding to a stop in front of Jiraiya's, eyes shining with excitement and yearning to be trained. "Let's begin, then." Jiraiya huffed a chuckle and flashed the boy a grin. "It's going to be a hard time training with me though, Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto heard his name called for the first time and couldn't help but show the old man his largest smile. He was no longer the boy or the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, his name was finally called and that made him burst with warmth. "I'll tackle anything. I'm an Uzumaki after all, right?" Naruto probed his chest with a proud thumb and Jiraiya had sworn he saw Kushina right there, telling Jiraiya of her many feats. The Sennin smiled and suddenly, didn't regret taking in Naruto as his last disciple. "Perhaps this one won't end like me or the others." A. Not bad, Sasuke-kun. You've already mastered the tree climbing exercise and water walking exercise. Tomorrow, you'll start to learn jutsus. Orochimaru walked Sasuke to the cave entrance and examined him gleefully. "You'll start by learning the summoning jutsu, I'm sure it'll become very handy in the future." Sasuke could feel the obvious stare Orochimaru was giving him and frowned in annoyance. He'd wanted to start learning it by now but his teacher insisted that he rested for the rest of today. "I'm leaving now then." Sasuke grumbled with a slight nod, exiting the cave door and dreamily walking ahead. Shadows casted by the trees ahead sheltered him from the warm sunlight and he stopped halfway through the forest, glancing up at the bright blue sky and feeling a glum wash through his body. "Naruto. Where are you right now?" Sasuke whispered, reaching a hand up towards the irresistible blue and feeling his heart throb with pain. "Have you grown stronger yet? Have you grown taller?" "Sasuke-kun." The annoying squeal interrupted his thoughts and he lowered his hand to glance over at the pink hair that ran towards him. "Sakura." Sasuke greeted in an impassive tone, watching as Sakura ran over and gave him a big smile. "You're finished with training? Want to go out with me and the other for an early dinner?" she asks with sparkling eyes, her long hair waving in the comforting breeze. But Sasuke still felt uncomfortable and turned away from her expecting look. He wondered why Naruto had a crush on such a useless girl. She contributed to about nothing during the Chunin exams, she spends her free time going out with others, she's completely infatuated with me and ignores everyone else who cares for her. Spoiled, ignorant, irresponsible, annoying, stupid. But Naruto likes her, so he will continue to protect her until he comes back. Until he comes back home. "No thanks, I'm going home and taking a nap." Sasuke mutters, giving the pouting Sakura a small nod before rushing away. Sasuke walked all the way home with a troubled heart and locked the door behind him before falling onto his bed entire. Naruto. Sasuke glanced at their Team 7 photo and reaches a hand out to the stupid-looking, yellow-haired boy. When will you come home? Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.